Hello, this is Ashley Hobart and I'm a medical assistant for AnyLabTestNow. Today we'll be doing a video tutorial for inputting new patient information into the drug testing portal. Now after logging in initially, you'll see the main drug testing screen. This screen shows the most recent drug tests that have been performed, and along the top of the page you will find the Add Drug Test button and click. Now once clicked, the Add Drug Test button brings you to a screen with pre-filled information regarding the date and time of the collection, and just under that is a section to input the patient's date of birth. So we're going to do that now. Once you've filled out the patient's date of birth, you're going to go to the right-hand side where you see the button that says Check New or Existing Customer and click. And now we're ready to begin starting to add more specific patient information. This process is nearly foolproof, as we will simply input information step by step until the form has been completed. And as you can see, the date, time, and date of birth have been pre-filled for you. So your first step is going to be entering the first name of the donor. In this case, it will be Jane. Last name will be Doe. The next section is where you can use the patient's identification number, which can either be a driver's license number, social security number, passport, or employee number if applicable. Now if the donor does not have identification, you see the Not Verified checkbox. By clicking this, you're denoting that this patient did not have a photo ID, nor did they have any other identification at the time of testing. And what this means is that any instant test results that are printed out, it will say that their identification has not been verified, and therefore it will not be able to be used for pre-employment, court purposes. This basically is saying that they can only use this drug test for their own information. So we're going to input an ID number, and the donor is identified by, most of the time it will be a photo ID like a driver's license, although it can also be not verified or other in the case of using a social security card or some other type of identification. Now the next section is the account section. As you can see, the account selection has either a drop-down menu, or to the right of it there's a button that says Private. Now at this point you have two different options. If the test is for the patient's own information, you'll select the Private button. And when you do that, you'll input the patient's address, how they would like to receive the results, the name that they would like their results to be reported to, along with the email, phone number, and fax number. However, if the patient that is coming in for the drug test is doing it for one of your drug testing accounts, you'll simply select the drop-down menu, select the account, and the information on that account will be pre-filled for you. Most of the time the reason will be pre-employment. So for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to assume that Miss Jane Doe is having a drug test done for the candle shop. Now as we continue on, you can see that there's the reason of the test. And from this menu, we can either select pre-employment, random, post-accident, court, private, requested by a probation officer, or other. The next section is where you will select your name as collector. If the patient specimen needs to be sent out to the lab for further testing, you will select the name of the lab that it's going to from the lab drop-down menu. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to say that we used the PSDA-MO testing device for this client. It's important to note that when you have a drug testing account, only the devices that they have approved will come from this drop-down menu. These are the two tests that this account would like to have done for their employees. Makes it very simple. Now once you've selected that, you saw that it brought me back to the top part of the page. You're going to scroll down and you can see that the PSDA 10MO, which is a 10-panel drug screen, everything that's tested in this screening has popped up below with its own drop-down menu. Now, the options for each specific thing being tested for can either be negative, presumptive positive, or invalid. We're going to assume that this person tested positive or presumed positive. And when that happens, there will be a red character denoting that they were positive and the main screen of the drug testing portal. If the person is negative, you're going to continue on to the temperature section. From the drop-down menu, you can either select yes or no to denote that the temperature was in fact within range. You will have the lot number, which will also be pre-filled, the expiration date of the test, whether or not the test was observed, the result of the screening, which is negative by default. Your collection site will also be default, so there's no need to change it. And finally, at the very bottom, you see test performed, and from the drop-down menu, you're always going to select yes after the test has been performed. Now, at this point, you want to go back up to the top, be sure that all of the patient information has been inputted correctly, and it looks like it has. So we're going to go ahead to the bottom and click on the button that says Save. Now, as you can see, once we've done this, we have a new patient on the main screen, Miss Jane Doe, for the candle shop. The reason for her test was pre-employment. She used a PSDA 10-panel drug screen. The N in green denotes that she was negative. And as you can see, there is an arrow that says that this company would like to be faxed the results. There is also a PDF file attached to this, and by opening it, you'll see the results of the test and what's being sent to the employer. Also, for some employers, we like to have in the notes section the price that the employer pays for the drug test, just for quick reference. And there you have it. That is how we enter a new drug test patient into the drug testing portal.